everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Talk Sporty to Me. And we are your hosts, Raghdan.
And I'm Anna Kyriad.
And today, actually, we will be covering a very mainstream sport that, we've listened to our fans, and here we are doing it. We're no expert, on the...
Literally.
on the matter, and we'll be covering the Asian Game 2020 of cricket.
Specifically focusing on India team, or the Men in Blue, and their ex-leader Virat Kohli.
Yeah. So we'll be unpacking, some stuff, and,
Stay tuned. By the way, to our viewers that have no idea or diddly squat of what cricket is, I didn't know either.
That's us yesterday. Yeah.
Literally yesterday. I am going to insert a fun little clip right now.
Hey guys, welcome back to Cricket 101, where I basically go through the basics of cricket. So right now I'm drawing out the field, which is where the game actually happens, which is everything in brown, and the white is where the fans are. And this is where the pitch is, which is where the actual game happens. Now, assuming that the green is the Pakistani players and the blue is the Indian batsmen, and those three are the wickets, we have 9 Pakistani fielders on the field as well. Now, the Pakistani player with the baller will throw the ball to the Indian player, and the Indian player will try to hit it out for either 6 or 4 points. And during this time, they can run back and forth. And if it hits a wicket, they are out.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you kind of know how it works now. Although the Asian Cup had plenty of matches, in this specific podcast, we're going to be focusing on 3. To begin with, on September 4th, it was the India versus Pakistan. And on the 6th, we have India versus Sri Lanka. And on the 8th, we have India versus Afghanistan.
And essentially, India actually played 3 matches in total. Which are the ones that we just referenced, and unfortunately, they got skedaddle.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, so basically they lost, and it was they lost against Pakistan, they lost against Sri Lanka, and they won against Afghanistan, but unfortunately it was not enough of points for them to be still qualified.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they didn't play well. Like, let's be real here. This was a high voltage, high pressure game, especially the one with India versus Pakistan.
This is what we're here for, actually. We'll be unpacking this. I thank you very much for bringing this up, because for the the matches, the kind of media coverage, particularly, they played 3 matches. If you look up India during the Asia Cricket Cup, you'll you just hear and watch and find like bazillion of videos just India versus Pakistan.
Yeah. But what about the rest of the teams? And it's so sad because who ended up winning was Sri Lanka. And that's where the talent was. But they didn't even care because media was so focused because it was a political match. India versus Pakistan. It was the Indian team against the Pakistan team. The blue against the green.
Yeah.
And
it's heavily rooted in politics. Yeah. And this is like where we'll be talking also about identities and how they're projected.
Yeah.
But it was actually quite sad that we had this guy.
See, when it comes to Asian cricket games, it's majorly India-Pakistan games everyone talks about. But we got a very good team.
Who is the Sri Lankan team captain and spokesperson, coming forward, acknowledging that people are so, sucked into the coverage about India versus Pakistan, that they kind of forgot about their, Sri Lankan team. And he literally said, we have a good team, you all. We actually have a talented team. And they won.
Yeah, so, what actually went wrong with the Indian team? I don't want to say that because they're my team, but still.
I mean, national identity right here. But, so it's really hard to pinpoint a particular kind of, element. It was a combination of a lot of, aspects, including the fact, it was not, again, it was not really fairly covered, the Sri Lankan team and their talent and the kind of the potential they had was not fairly covered. How strong they
got a
are.
very good
team.
There were also mistakes that a lot of people pointed out. Rohit Sharma, who's right now the current team leader, is not someone kind of came out of the blue. Rohit Sharma is literally the most successful skipper in the Indian Premier League. He won the title actually 5 times, and he led India to the glory of the Asia Cup and won Nada's trophy in 2018, particularly in the absence of Virat, Kohli when he was recovering, etc. So he got the sauce. He got the foundation.
He got the
for
spice.
That. But what people were kind of highlighting is that he was so focused. So a lot of people were kind of classifying him as like strategic leader. Which came under backlash a bit because people were like, actually this is more on the aggressive end. You could have changed the kind of the formation of the team.
Right.
What did you have to pack on standby?
Right.
So for sure, like he lacked on that, and with the backlash, you would think that people would be people were brutal online. Just kind of to be fair.
Of course they are. I mean, how can you compare Rohit Sharma, which is the current captain of Men in Blue, to the ex-captain Virat Kohli? And I am not.
Okay. So it's. You
can't compare it. I mean, Virat Kohli. I'm not just saying this because
I know you have a soft spot for Virat Kohli.
I really don't, you guys. Let's be real here. He has 215 million followers on Instagram as compared to Rohit Sharma.
25 million. I mean,
I
don't like to look at numbers, but literally Virat Kohli has a quarter of India's population following him on Instagram.
Literally.
Kind of speaks a bit like it kind of speaks
volumes. It speaks volumes, and that's because of his leadership style. He was so successful. I mean, obviously, I could argue him as a GOAT, like greatest of all time. But he was a very transformational leader. He got that team together, and we can see it in the way he plays with. For example, in the September, in the game between India versus Afghanistan, he made a world record, right? And you know what the world record was, right? And the first thing that he did after making this record is kiss the badge, the Indian team badge on his shirt, and he lifts up his hat and his bat. As this great batsman or batsperson, his way of identifying himself with the team is through giving everyone a reassurance. He really that shows team cohesiveness. And I feel like the personal front that he portrays out there on the field, like his social front or the front that he portrays, is very in alliance to his personal identity and his social identity.
Also at the team. I mean, also during Rohit Sharma's kind of an aspect. So he was the one under cooked and grilled online, right?
Yeah.
For several mistakes that he made, despite all the success that he had for the past couple of years.
Right.
But it kind of be highlighting what you just mentioned on team cohesion. Several players came forward just kind of praising actually his leadership style, which I found actually quite interesting because it wasn't just the way he was facing the backlash was through the team members of his team, which from my end I found that very positive.
Yeah. And don't you think it's interesting how if you look at the new media of the current the ex leader, which is Virat Kohli, right? And if you take a look at his Instagram, when they lost and when they won, don't you think the way he reacts is so different?
Yeah.
Let's give our audiences a little screenshot. On the 31st of August, they won. And guess what he posted? He posted a picture of him and another man in blue. Because that's how he is. He loves to post pictures where teams are there. He's not just focused on his own performance, rather on his team. Especially we see an association. This was kind of odd on his media, on his personal Instagram. Whenever they won, it would be a picture of a team, right?
Collective.
It was a collective team, and we can put it right over here so that you guys can see.
Yeah.
But then when they lost, which was very tragic, it's very hard for me to say that, on September 9th, he mainly posted a picture of him, his hat, and the bat.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's and he says, thank you all for the love and support. We will get better, come back stronger, and then until next time, you got a heart and you got the Indian flag. It's amazing. I think it's he's almost taking responsibility for the loss, right? Which goes right.
Taking responsibility just kind of this plays a lot into the kind of association that the Indian fans, Indian team fans, have with the India team. If I can only imagine if it was a picture, they lost, right? They got skedaddle out of the match, out of the whole league. and he put a picture of another team member, there would probably be a backlash. But he could afford that. He was able to, like, even if you look at the comments, they're mostly positive. There are a couple of few, like, sprinkles of just few hate, but
the negative.
but in general, it was like he was able to afford that kind of, like, backlash or the lost, and bringing people together.
Because he takes leadership and he takes responsibility. Those two things that's why I think that, it's sad that he's not the current the captain, but
you can argue that he's still kind of influential.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
On the other hand, for Rohit Sharma, that kind of, front or leadership, aside from, the kind of the praises that he receives from his members, like team members after the game, which I feel like they're helpful.
Yeah.
And in social media, his presence is not really there.
It's so sad. Let's just pull it up right now.
It's mostly sponsorships.
Yeah.
And like...
like, who are you?
Yeah. Like, I mean,
No
it's great.
No hate.
It's great, but his presence, like, his leadership, like, if you look at his page or Instagram coverage, and you compare it to Virat Kohli, and you don't have no idea who these people are, and I tell you, one of them is a leader.
Yeah. We know who it is. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding.
Yeah. Not
And then,
only looking at the numbers, but...
Yeah, let's also add to the fact that, because we're in our Doha hub and we're talking relative to Doha, Virat Kohli took his time to come to Doha, post a picture with, and again, over here, post a picture with, the kind of the sports ambassador of Doha, because we know that the FIFA is going to happen pretty soon here, just to get media publicity around the Asian Cup and around the Indian team. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and you're talking about a country that, like, the majority, the biggest, kind of expatriate population is actually of Indian origin. Not to mention the large, South Asian community and the cricket fans right here. And he was here actually. He visited. He had a kind of representative from the Qatar's Olympic Museum.
Exactly.
And also, and I don't know if that's related, like just kind of making kind of assumptions right here, but one of the stadiums actually for the World Cup is gonna be revamped to become a cricket stadium.
Yeah.
Which I believe is quite huge, and we didn't have Rohit Sharma coming over to do that. It was Virat Kohli.
Exactly, and that's something that we see that traditional media and new media. It almost kind of parallels. His character is the same.
Mm-hmm.
The way traditional media is portraying him is almost kind of identical to the way that new media is also.
It still idealizes him. Like if you want to check even the highlights of the game, you will find Virat Kohli like in most of the shots.
Exactly.
One interesting thing actually I found was the kind of in the media coverage was the kind of different qualities that traditional media has that was transformed differently on digital media. It was interesting to see the differences and similarities.
For sure. And we see that like in terms of like the India versus Pakistan game, a lot of people think that new media will almost replace traditional media just because TV viewership is decreasing. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily like that in India. A lot of people considerably still watch TV, and it's like and you earlier you read
the statistics actually India has. It's relatively low. It has 50% internet penetration. So you can imagine the mass number of people who are still using, traditional media as
TV. And like it's also really great because when you watch TV, it's like it's a social gathering. It's about collectively watching it on a big screen. You don't get that with new media. You can't get it on your mobile device or your computer or even social media. Although those are still really, really important parts of this whole, social, sports broadcasting.
Yeah. I mean, but it was what I found it kind of interesting when with kind of reporting on the match and the kind of digital media aspect. It was interesting how that collective experience, which took a different kind of medium. For instance, you would find lots of, for example, YouTubers, analysts, channels online who would go live during the match, not to actually, showcase the match, just a couple of pictures, but they were kind of showcasing a platform where it was live streaming, so people were commenting, interacting.
You see a lot of hate. You see a lot of love. It's so fun.
It's very intense.
We need to pull those hate comments up over here.
It's very intense.
And lastly, it's unfortunate that India lost the Asian Cup, but it's totally fine because we know that, you know, the team is still strong and they're going to come back stronger next round.
We're rooting for them now that we understand what cricket is.
Definitely am.
And the kind of, you know, dynamic, I'll be having stats to be pulling next, you know, game that they're currently playing in Australia.
I feel like I got more Indian through this whole journey.
Literally referencing what we just talked about. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and we hope that you've learned something from this and you had fun with us.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the second episode next week with That's Sporty to Me.